got the art of seeing in a world that was used to being. You saw what no man had seen before, and in his finest hour he was king. Ulysses lived in a land of trees.
Hey everybody, welcome back. Psychedelic here. Welcome back once again. Today we're going to be discussing some records I picked up in Fort Dodge, Iowa and the surrounding areas last week. Took a little road trip, 2-day road trip, and went through different villages, little small nooks and crannies. Came out with a really good score, at least a couple good scores here. 45s especially. So stick around for those. I'll show those ones first. I got some other video ideas going to be happening in the future as well. Got some stuff from the local shop to show off that I haven't even posted on Instagram yet or anything. And then, of course, my label spotlight. I'm going to be highlighting the Dot label, Dot Records. And then there's also a thread going around. I forget who originally started it, but I watched 8 Vinyl Low, her channel. She was discussing show 5 albums or 5 different bands that you would not expect to be in the collection. I kind of like that idea, so I might step up to that one. And a lot of video ideas coming out. And then the live streams, the new and improved stuff. As far as the mixer goes, it's really working out well. Thanks again for joining me on my first stream. I was a little tired on that stream. Hopefully I can have the energy to be a little more energetic or a little active, but just still trying to test the waters and see how I want to lay out the live stream. And I also want to mention too, one of the shops I went to where I picked up an LP is probably my favorite shop as well. In Eagle Grove, Iowa, there's a shop there, Arden Scott Collectibles. I'll post a video maybe here or at the end of the video of just sort of a little interview or a little discussion with the manager there. He was actually in a teenage garage band called the Spartans, as well as a few other groups, and we talk about it in video, so I will drop that in here somewhere.
This was the high school band.
That you were in?
Yeah, we were the Insects,
Okay.
and we played for about a year.
Now,
Locally.
which one are you here?
The bass player in the middle there, yeah,
Okay.
50-pound slider. And I played 1 year with the top one, Lincoln Reed and the House Rockers.
Okay.
Now that was Denny Reed and I from Eagle Grove, Pat Sweeney and Otis Sweeney, Mike Sheriff,
Blue-Eyed Soul.
Soul. We did rhythm and blues.
Like a lot of traditional covers and stuff.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yep. And when I went to Iowa State, I played with the Spartans for 3 years when I
Okay.
was going to school in Ames.
Kind of playing around Des Moines.
Yeah, the
The
state of Iowa.
The regional area, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to start with the big one. This is one that I found in a place called like Once or Now, Then, and Again Antiques, I think it was called, in Lake City, Iowa. Found a few singles there, and that was probably the dirtiest place, but oftentimes the filthiest place is where you got to dig, man. And miraculously, these 45s turned out to be in really good shape, considering the conditions. I mean, she was so nice to bring like a fan over for me because it was like a really hot barn garage kind of thing, and the records were tucked away in a corner. Afterwards I was like, can I wash up? Can I use your garden hose out back? And I literally used the faucet outside. It's all part of the fun, right? But yeah, I picked this one up. This one did not have a sleeve, but man, this is in pretty miraculous shape. And some of these 45s were not even graded or even looked through really. So she just kind of shot a price of 50 cents. came out with this one, man. This is Boss Be Good to Me by Apollo's Apaches. And the B-side Cry Me a Lie, which also came out on another single prior to this one. Has like a orange or red label, I think. And that's actually the A-side. I haven't listened to their other songs, but I think they got 2 singles. This one and the other one I mentioned. And then I think there's like some acetate single I saw on Discogs. On the Baradonna label. And this is out of Chicago. And they're based out of, I think it was Garfield Ridge or something, which is like a little suburb of Chicago. Teenage Garage, it's been comped several times, their songs. Teenage Shutdown, Garage Unknowns, Psychedelic Unknowns. And yeah, both sides are really stiff. They got a lot of like stiff chord progressions going on. Striking piano chords, especially on this track, on track Boss, which I think is my favorite of the two, but the flip side's no slouch either. Has a little more organ presence on this one. Good harmonies, a little bit of a surf vibe I was picking up on. This is a dope find, man. You never know. So just really happy to come out with that one. Look at the prices that's going for on Discogs. This one was another nice surprise. This one I was not familiar with, but it kind of makes sense finding this because they were from a small town. What's it called? I gotta look on my phone. Mankato, Minnesota. I was just looking them up before making this, and it's the band The Gestures with their single Candlelight on the Soma label. So, you know, that Mankato was southern Minnesota, and I was almost to the border of Minnesota, probably like an hour away. And Don't Mess Around on the B-side. That's definitely the highlight of the two. Don't Mess Around, it's very Beatle-like, kind of mod-inspired. Really good harmonies, very jangly hook. There's sort of like these different breakdowns they do in the rhythm section. It's tasty stuff, and obviously it's a promo copy. And there's a few different variations of this promo copy as well. Just, I think it's the first one that I have, the first run with the all caps audition copy, not for sale. Candlelight, it's a little bit of a take on that one track, Oh Little Bitty Pretty One, that soul song, but sort of in like a garage kind of vein. Don't Mess Around is definitely the one to check out, and there's actually a compilation done by Sundays back in the 90s that I need to check out, apparently. They got more songs they released back then, and as far as like singles, this might be they might have released a couple singles. I think this might have been their last one. This came out in like 65, so again, pretty early. Both of these songs are pretty early. The other one was from 67. So yeah, these were definitely the two highlights of the trip. Struck gold somewhere, so thank goodness it was there. And then as well as these ones too. The Stepping Stones, I got my job through the New York Times. Looks like it sells for a little bit on Discogs. And The Nearness of You, sort of like an early 60s, a little scuff there, but played through. Early 60s, sort of a maybe Chicago soul. I'm not really sure where they're from, but it's kind of got that Chicago soul kind of vein. Pretty decent. I like what I heard. And then Hill Stomp by The Strangers on the Titan label. And then the flip side is A Lost Soul. I think A Lost Soul was the better of the two. It's got some tremolo guitar, kind of a moody saxophone, both instrumental tracks. Pretty good. Kind of like early rockabilly-ish, early rock and roll sounds from the, I think, late 50s. Okay, and this next one, like I said, I wanted to give these guys a proper shout out. Eden Scott Collectibles. They are based out of Eagle Grove, Iowa, and that's like the furthest I went. Pretty good selection. I mean, they had some LPs that I would definitely be interested in. Some steep prices on a few items, but I get it. They're kind of local owned and kind of a small town shop. But this is the one I came out with. Might surprise some of you. Chicken Shack with Imagination Lady. Bit of a split on here. but that's okay. It was marked down well enough. It's on the Duram label. Pretty nice disc. Got to get a new sleeve on this one though. And I think someone took this off the shrink and just pasted it on here, 99 cents. Special sale price. And then, what is it, Lund's Campus Shop across from Student Union, Vermilion, South Dakota. And they got it even cheaper, 89 cents. I think I've seen the sticker on another record, I feel like, in the past somewhere. It looks familiar. Anyways, I'm not going to complain too much. I mean, I kind of like that it's stuck on there just for its, you know, where it's traveled from. Cool gatefold here. Couldn't give you a whole back history on Chicken Shack, although I just know that they're very heavily into the British blues, and this one very much sticks to that formula. However, the reason I picked this up, man, is because this thing rips. I mean, it might overall be kind of bluesy, but there's some scorching hard rock guitar on this. And I think oftentimes get kind of overlooked by hard rock enthusiasts, perhaps. You know, people that love Savoy Brown, because there is a Savoy Brown connection to this band, right? I'm pretty sure. The only member that I recognize right away is Stan Webb. He was in a band, I used to have the album Broken Glass on Capitol. And it was kind of like your straightforward, kind of heading towards a commercial sounding, you know, almost US sounding rock, but I think they were based out of the UK. But as far as Chicken Shack goes, man, this has got the goods, especially on side 2. Things get ramped up even better with Poor Boy. Some scorching wah fuzz pedal guitar going on. Telling Your Fortune has a drum solo, but it's actually pretty decent. And then ending on the track The Loser. Now, if the whole album was like that track, the closing track The Loser, this would have been probably a damn near 5-star album for me. That's a really good track. I don't know if it was released on a single, but it's definitely a big highlight off here. So if you guys don't know Chicken Shack, this is one, I think it's the fan favorite by most people. Otherwise, I think their other stuff is maybe not as good or not as memorable, but you know, sort of in the same vein as 10 Years After. Pretty good, even for me. I mean, me not being too much heavily on the blues, this is actually really got some great guitar rippage on there. As far as the rest of these LPs go, nothing too crazy. I can't even remember the town I picked this up in, but I basically traveled through, starting off the interstate, going into Denison, you know, towns like Carroll, Lake City, Rockwell City, Fort Dodge, and we all know Cosmic Brian's from there, Cosmic Vinyl. It would have been kind of cool to find a Shadrach Chameleon, and funny enough, I forgot to mention this early on, but at that shop, Arden Scott Collectibles, not only them, but just the local antique dealers around the area, I kind of brought this album up after I didn't spot it in their little shop. I brought it up to them, and they had never even heard of it. You know, 300 copies, I think, survived out of 800 pressed. I don't know what the whole backstory behind that is, but pretty obscure nonetheless. College group from, I think they started from Lazy River, forming in Humboldt, and eventually found their way in Fort Dodge, and I think they're going to Iowa State in Ames, Iowa, which is the last town I went to, by the way. But I brought it up to the Arden Scott dealers, and they had never heard of it, but they jotted it down just in case, you know, a copy would come by, or anything on the IGL label, which is a classic teen garage single label. A lot of regional bands, a lot of regional garage bands signed onto that label. And funny enough, today I get a text from someone who I didn't meet. It was one of the co-managers or someone that tests records there. Had got a copy in of Shadrach Chameleon, an original copy. And although they have a pretty good price tag on it, they're not willing to do any down payments, which is kind of a shame because something that pricey, man, it's like, you know, I'm not going to fork over $600 in just one sweep like that, you know. At least I can't. Maybe some of you can, but I certainly can't. So unless, you know, it were to come into the local shop here, I would have definitely had support by that. But I figured I'd prompt the question, you know, could I make a down payment on it? And she got back to the boss and said it's not going to happen. So plan B, pick up the one that's waiting for me at Lincoln Vintage Vinyl, which is another local piece, which I won't talk about till I actually get it. But yeah, they got an original Shadrach Chameleon there. I think they're going to post it on Discogs if I don't make the decision. But I think I've kind of decided, you know, can't do it unless it's a sort of a PayPal, pay later sort of thing. But anyways, just wanted to mention that. I thought that was kind of coincidental, right? The record had never come into that shop before until the moment I left. So it's kind of crazy. But anyways, these next two, these are the ones I picked up at I think it was called New Hope thrift shop. I forget what town this was in, but Johnny Hammond Smith with, what is this? Opus de Funk. I think it's like a soul jazz sort of bag on Prestige. Pretty nice copy here. You don't see it every day in the thrifts, at least I don't. It's a really nice copy. Didn't want to leave that behind. And then this was kind of an odd one, the Dream Syndicate, Ghost Stories. This is kind of like later period Dream Syndicate. I think they got like 2 big favorite albums by a lot of fans. And this is like their later period thing, I think from like 88 or something. Yeah, Enigma Records. I listened to a little bit of this. I'm not too familiar with Dream Syndicate. I know the name. However, it's just like, what are you doing here? I know someone who might want this, so decided to pick it up. This is actually the first place I went. I think this was in Denison at a thrift shop. Found these 2 identical ones here. We got Freedom, Thinking About You. I haven't even really cleaned the cover off. It's still got some dust on it. Looks like maybe a lounge act or something. Doing some cover songs of The Gambler, Turn the Page, Help. But then there's some original material too. It says it came out in 81, but this definitely sounds like 76, 77 kind of lounge, synthy kind of stuff. Definitely a Private Press. Applause Records. And I've only listened to the clips online because there's a few clips under, I think it's this fellow's channel, one of the members here. And it's definitely kind of odd. I'd have to revisit this one. It's kind of synthy. It's got some phasing effects and some moody spots. So this was kind of a interesting online listen when I was in Iowa. And then we got a second copy here. It looks like they just passed this out to a couple gals that were at a little love-in at a little lounge club or something. I can't read the cursive too well, but yeah, I got it signed by I think 3 different members here. So kind of interesting. Looks like it could be an Acid Archive kind of thing, but I'm pretty sure it's not. I haven't looked in the book yet. And then this last one, this was the disappointment, but hey, you never know. Amplified version with One in the Sun. Sort of like a communal Christian band kind of thing. You know, looking at the back cover, I thought maybe there's a little bit of potential. Just reading some of the titles here. Bridge Over Troubled Waters. I think there's a couple original tracks here, and then some traditional gospel songs. New World label. But this one turned out to be kind of a dud. It's got interesting production qualities. It's kind of raw in sound, but don't recommend this one. And that is all she wrote for this episode. So yeah, I'll stick that video in here somewhere of my visit to Arden Scott Collectibles, and definitely a go-to spot if you're ever heading through, you know, up towards Minnesota, northern Iowa. It's definitely a spot to hit up. And then like I said, I went through Ames, Iowa, didn't find anything there. Went to a couple thrift shops, and then by that time, it was like a 4-hour drive back to Lincoln, so I just wanted to make sure I headed back home before sundown. So yeah, it was quite a busy week, quite a busy week of vacation for sure. Kept busy even here at home. I got a little more time to work out, get some sun, just catch up on everything. So it was time well spent. Yeah, so had to use up that vacation time. You know how it is. But till then, yeah, definitely has some video themes, like I mentioned in the beginning of the video, of things to come. So take care, check out some of these tracks. And yes, the sun's going down. That's why I look like I'm kind of fading into the light a little bit. But take care, and we'll see you soon.